Okay, I'm going to call to order the January 8th, 2025 meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission being held in the Don B. Griffin Room at Town Hall in Harwich, Massachusetts. Participation is possible in person, viewing online on the Harwich channel, or by logging into the GoToMeeting. Application instructions for logging in are on the agenda posted on the Town of Harwich website. So we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on the agenda this evening is a notice of intent for 11 River Bend Road, map 1, parcel G1-9. I believe that the applicants have requested
The applicants have,
continuance.
they have requested a continuance because there's been some ongoing dialogue between the applicants and the abutter adjoining property to the south, and hopefully they're at a point where they're both can be in agreement. So to give them that chance so we don't have to hash that out on this floor, they're looking for a continuance to January 22nd.
I'll move to the continuance.
I'll second that.
Just comment to January 22nd. That's an amendment, just adding the date to the motion, that's all I'm
Oh, okay.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Next on the agenda is a notice of intent for 0 Hiawatha Road, map 6, parcel T1 for stone revetment replacement.
Taking the green cards.
I'll take them. Thank you.
Thanks for the introduction. I'm Bob Perry at Company's Cape Cod Engineering, and this is a final stroke in a fairly long system of revetment, reconstruction, and seawall work. I've been here for 4 and 5 Cottage Ave, and then number 3 Hiawatha, going from east to west. And the organization that is the Windermere Beach Trust, they own Hiawatha Road. It's 48 feet wide, and their revetment is in a state of disrepair. And this application is for the final 48 feet going west from number 3 Hiawatha, which is already with an approved order of conditions. Of note is that it would be the same design, the same style, and the access for this short job will be in connection with the work that will be done at number 3 and Hiawatha, and number 4 and 5 Cottage Ave. Also of note is approximately a 16-foot length at 1 Wawatasi. Initially, when we were beginning this, we were going to put that into the application. But several weeks ago, we learned there was a permit extension issued by the governor that brought back to life the order of conditions for DEP file number 322244. And so that order should be sufficient, along with these details, so that the Krieger group can join with us when we do this work. And to answer the question you posed, I do have in writing from the Kriegers that they're 100% behind this, and they're going to enter into an agreement with the contractor to pay for their segment. So there's nothing different about this than the other jobs that have already been approved. We also submitted a landscape, a restoration sketch plan for pasture roses to run along the cap. It's a fairly dense array of those that are proposed. The existing platform will be replaced. It'll be a timber frame deck. There's a bit of a concrete slab there today with a timber deck, but the concrete's going to go away. So not too much extra here, just be happy to take your questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Amy?
Yeah, so this was a revetment that was done several decades ago before we kind of knew better on how to construct them. There was no bedding stone, there's no filter fabric, none of that, so stones were laid down and then mortared, essentially, and that's failed after probably 40-plus years, I would assume. So there's armoring on either side. This is a existing armored structure, so what they're proposing to do will make it better than what it is right now. Right now, it's completely, well, now it's a little bit pervious, but
Big hole in it.
normally impervious. So at least a rougher faced wall that's constructed properly will hold up better and also absorb more energy than what's out there currently from the waves. So I can't recommend approval. Well, I can, but I don't think you should vote tonight. We don't have a DEP number for this. So I guess with the holiday, they might just be a little bit backed up over there with people taking time off. So I would say I don't even recommend approving pending a DEP number because we just don't know if that's going to come in time for our next meeting necessarily, and we have a requirement of a 21-day issuance. So I would recommend a continuance. Do you have those sketch plans of the roses?
I should, but
Well, if you
I
can always
emailed
get
one
them to me.
you.
Yeah, I didn't print them, I'm sorry, I thought you were,
Isn't this
Having-
it?
Yeah, that's it.
We have it.
I don't have any. So, yeah, if a few of you want to hand me back those at the end, that would be great, so I can have, I guess,
This job would be a February startup for the
Yeah.
other project, so there's time. That's not a problem.
yeah. I would anticipate we'll have a number next time. There's no, this is not in mapped heritage, natural heritage area. It's pretty straightforward, but still, I can't recommend that you vote without that number. I would just recommend, similar to the other ones, that we require benchmark installation to evaluate beach elevation. And when the benchmarks become exposed, there needs to be sand nourishment monitoring done once annually to determine if it's needed and if the structure needs maintenance. So with that, I would recommend a continuance to the 22nd. But this is a great time to hash out any questions.
I have none. It looks like a pretty simple plan to me. Looks good.
No questions.
Looks fine to me.
I don't have anything, so.
So we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
so
I'll let you know, I mean, if I just ask a quick question? If DEP does come back with a number and no other comments, is there really a need for Mr. Perry to have to come to the meeting?
I don't think so.
I'd be happy to stay away, unless that's something else, but, you're always
Just
great to
trying to get
see.
you off the hook for one, so.
It saves the client a little money, and
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
not a problem
Okay.
for me to do,
All right.
so your call.
we need to continue. I'll move, we continue to
John,
January 22nd, is that right?
Second.
yep, March 2nd.
I'll second that.
You thirded it then. John moved,
Further
Mark
discussion?
seconded.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank
See ya.
you. Can I have a couple of those sketch plans? Sorry.
They're also in the Dropbox in the document.
No, but if you're not gonna use them, I'm gonna eventually have to stamp this, so,
We'll get you copies if you need them.
no.
Oh, no,
This
I
is
have
good.
one. Yes, I do have.
Okay. Thank you. That'll help.
Okay. Next, we have a notice of intent for 19 Walker Woods Drive, map 94, parcel A5 for Vista Pruning, the pond access path.
Good evening. Mike Tanis, along with Teresa Sprague from Blue Flax Design, representing the Duarts. who own a property at 19 Walker Woods Drive, which is near Walker's Pond. It's a new development all outside of the 100-foot buffer. The 100-foot buffer is vegetated with a very typical oak pine forest, which changes to red maple and tupelo closer to the pond. This plan proposes to establish 2 view corridors to provide filtered vistas to the pond, as well as a 4-foot wide walking path to the water. Additionally, a small area approximately 4 to 5 feet wide into the 100-foot buffer will be managed as an area of lower native vegetation. Essentially, there's 7 trees that are either unhealthy or potentially hazardous to the house that we are proposing to remove. We will replace these trees with 7 native trees located just outside the 100-foot buffer and adjacent to the existing vegetation. The proposed view corridor will be established by the pruning of existing trees. It'll begin with the removal of dead, diseased, obstructing, and weak branches, followed by the lifting of the canopy. So no more than 1/3 of the canopy of each tree shall be removed. The 4-foot wide footpath will allow the property owners access to the shores. No trees will be removed for the footpath. It's portrayed as straight on the plan, but we will curve it as necessary to go around any existing trees. And two racks to store kayaks and canoes will be constructed along the path just outside of the 50-foot buffer. And we are ready for any questions or concerns.
We've had some back and forth prior to this meeting. This is another one that we don't have a DEP file number for, so unfortunately, we can't move on it tonight. Do you happen to have a revised planting plan that shows those 7 trees on the north side as we emailed about?
No, we were going to talk to the client further about what species and exactly where
Yep.
would be best for them, but it would be native trees and just outside the 100-foot.
Okay.
So currently, currently the landscape plan outside of the 100-foot buffer, they have a separate landscape plan for that. That does include 8 white pines outside of the 100-foot buffer on the northern edge of the vegetation. So if that suffices with the commission for these trees, we would put that forward. If the commission felt that they wanted a little bit more diversity, we would recommend maybe adding a couple of oak trees in there along with that. And we can do an updated plan, given the fact that we do have to continue because we don't have the DEP number, we can do an updated plan. We wanted to get feedback from the commission and see if there were any other changes we needed to make.
So the first rendition had the kayak racks within the 50-foot buffer. Spoke with them and said, if we can move them outside, that would be great. And they were able to do so. Paths should only be 4 feet wide at most, and just a natural path, no stone or anything like that. They're just a path down to the water. I'm okay with the white pines. I would just want to make sure the spacing was pretty big for them because they do get huge.
Yep.
But maybe a little bit, maybe 4 and 4 or 3 and 5 or something like that with some oaks.
Perfect.
As long as they're far enough away from, because they do get, as you know, huge
Yes.
from any structures. So,
Yes.
and other than that, I think we met on site when the house was not as far along as it is right now, and kind of came up with the view corridors, and there's 2 areas that where the least amount of work kind of needs to be done in order to get a filtered view to the pond. And I spoke or via email with Mike about just asked the question if the shrub layer was going to need to get pruned down. It's mostly sweet pepper, and because normally that's what we see is a pruning down of shrubs and a pruning up of the limbs. But he said in this case, the deck in the house is high enough up that they don't think they're going to have to touch the shrub layer, which is great. It's a really beautiful, pristine buffer zone, so it's and it's been good to see that the entire house, and everything can be outside the 100-foot buffer, with just a couple of minor removals of trees, so. I don't have, don't worry, we'll get to public comment. First, me, then the commission, and then the public. I don't have any more questions on this one.
Sophia?
Looks like a good plan to me. I don't have any questions.
Nothing to add.
I don't have anything either.
I don't have any questions or comments, so now we can do public comment, if you would.
Well, we'll try to help you out. How can we get a microphone to you?
Can I help in any way?
I don't know if it moves.
Haley, do you have a,
Very loud.
you know, you
Can
need,
people hear me?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just am wondering how you're gonna handle the vegetation that's kind of close to the pond. I live right next door, and I've lived there for 15 years. I'm an outdoor person. So I've spent so much time in the woods and around our ponds, and it is so thick when you get down there. So I was just wondering exactly, unfortunately, I've watched, like, it was hard for me to watch all the trees come down, because there used to be juvenile deer that would meet there. Sorry, but I have to throw that in. It's a little rough for me, but they'll find another place, I know. But anyways, I'm just wondering, like, how you're gonna handle that, because in some areas, it's been very wide. Like it's quite a lot to get through to actually get to the water.
Can I just have your-
Before you respond,
okay.
just two things. One, can you please identify yourself?
Oh, sure. My name is Karen Warren, and I live right next door. I live at 15 Walker Woods.
Okay, so
Thank
I'm,
you.
I'm here in
I'm
Harwich.
just gonna summarize in one sentence what you
Okay.
just said
Thank
in
you.
case people couldn't. get it.
Online, yeah, people online.
Which is you're asking what the plans are for the vegetation along the pond edge.
Correct. So there.
Thank you.
Yes. So one of the things I do want to point out is that this is a very densely vegetated buffer zone with predominantly, with actually entirely native species. There are no invasive species within here. There's some aggressive greenbrier, but we know that that provides really great wildlife habitat. So the entire 100-foot buffer to the pond is really incredibly well protected. As Amy pointed out, we very rarely see a whole completely vegetated 100-foot buffer zone, so that's really great. But as far as the only area that will be open for access to the water is the 4-foot wide path. No trees will be removed for the 4-foot wide path. So we'll work the path so that it works around existing trees. We will have to remove some shrubs. It is very thick with, as Amy pointed out, clethra and some greenbrier. So we will have to remove some shrubs within that 4-foot swath. But we will not be removing any trees. So the vegetation will remain intact. The point of moving the kayak rack outside of the 50-foot buffer was to prevent a wider cleared area at the edge of the pond so that there wouldn't potentially be any pond erosion or damage at the edge of the pond itself.
I had one follow-up question. We had talked originally about this, and some people have asked questions about the need for a little set of stairs or stairs cut in the earth there because it does drop off a bit. You foresee in that particular finding a location where you can meander down?
That's our goal, is to find a location where we can meander down. It's pretty difficult to navigate that area right now. Mike and I did manage to make
Yes.
our way through and down to the edge of the pond, and I think we'll be able to find an area where a set of stairs will not be necessary. It does change where it drops off steeply in some areas, and the idea is to avoid that and get into the pond where it's a little bit less steep.
So the plan that you have in front of you is kind of a straight shot, but it's not going to be a straight shot. The as-built would reflect, but you would condition that it's to be 4 feet, meandering, no tree removal, things like that.
And we could get in, if the commission felt more comfortable with that, we could get in and flag that and meet with Amy out at the site and and open it up a little bit so that Amy or any of the commissioners could actually access and see the area. We just didn't want to touch any vegetation until we knew that the commission felt comfortable with what we're proposing.
Okay, well, we can't really act on that right now anyway.
Correct.
Because we can't vote on this.
Is there
right?
anybody else?
Right. Do we have any other comment from the public in the room or online? I don't think so.
Okay.
So we need to, again, do you think continuing until the 22nd?
We gotta continue to the 22nd, and hopefully it'll be a quick in and out for it.
Perfect. No, we were aware that we would have to continue this evening, so
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll move for continuance to the 22nd.
Second.
Comment? Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
you.
evening.
Okay.
Now we have orders of conditions, starting with 4 Monomoy Road, map 5, parcel K1-A3 for home renovation. We have, we're just voting on order of conditions.
Yeah, if you
so-
had any comments on my draft orders, we didn't print more out, I don't think, or maybe we did.
Well, you just gave me a pile, so.
Okay, then Sherry did, that's great. Sometimes if they've been in Dropbox for more than a few days, we don't print them out, but,
I didn't have any comments about this. Let's leave a few minutes here, just.
Can we do all three at once?
Fine by me. So, I guess I have to announce them if we're gonna go
Yeah,
do
I'm
all
gonna
three.
announce them.
So, we're doing 4 Monomoy Road, map 5, parcel K1-A3 for home renovation. 117 Riverside Drive, map 4-A1, parcel A11, to construct a single-family house and pertinent site work. And 3 Longview Lane, map 104, parcel M3-2, renovation and home addition. This, I don't have any comments on any of this. Anyone, do we need more time?
No, I'm good.
I'd move for approval on all three.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
just 3 of them here.
5 and 0. So, now we have certificates of compliance, starting with 2 Quasin Lane, map 7, parcel A50, SE 32-2434 for the removal and reconstruction of a single-family dwelling.
So this, we visited the property, and the mitigation plantings were established really well in the bank. There are a couple of non-natives, Rosa rugosa and border privet. The order did specify the patio would be permeable, which it's not, and I do think there's somebody online who can probably address this. I'm not too concerned about it. It's very flat up there. There's not erosion or runoff. The lawn is, I detected that it wasn't likely a seed, and they did say, Executive Landscaping did say that they did use Black Beauty sod. We would have preferred an all-native, which Black Beauty has a lot of native grasses, seeds in there, but not all. They did mention the use of compost and use of vinegar to control weeds, which is kind of contrary to our, or at least any amendments are really not allowed in the orders of conditions. They did mention if we wanted them to cease doing that within the 100-foot buffer zone, that they would. And I think Sean Riley from Ty and Bonds online.
Yes, thank you, Amy. For the record, Sean Riley with Ty and Bond. The contractor did miss the fact that the rear terrace was to be pervious. As Amy mentioned, though, it's a very small terrace. The entire roof is guttered and downspouted to dry wells, and there's a significant lawn area adjacent to that rear terrace. It's really more of a landing coming out of a slider that's about 8 by 12. So it's not of any significant size. I wouldn't be concerned about any runoff coming off of that and causing any erosion. As far as the grass seed mix, it is a drought tolerant fescue, the Black Beauty, which is used throughout the Cape. You know, as Amy said, it would prefer to use a seed mix, but it was late in the season, and they wanted to get something established out there before the winter, so they opted to use a sod of that rather than a seed mix. So with that, I'll answer any other questions you may have.
Okay, so we have questions. Wayne?
I have none.
Amy?
No questions.
Mark?
No questions.
Sophia?
I think that sounds like, I mean, the patio sounds fine, and it makes sense with the sod, why they didn't seed it, if it, didn't work with the time of year. It's good to retain that soil. And the compost, I don't know, we'll maybe leave that for later, but in
Yeah.
this scenario, I think it's just, it is what it is, whatever.
Yeah, I object to the compost because it's probably full of nitrogen and phosphorus. And as we discussed last time, I don't think we should be permitting that at all. I think the regulations need to be more clear about that. I would not be in favor of approving that part. The rest of it, I don't have any concern about.
They do seem, for the purpose of this one, because we are going to have a conversation later on about soil amendments and treatments, because they did say that they're, willing to stop in the 100-foot buffer, I would be willing to grant the cert of compliance with asking from a letter from executive stating that they understand. They can't do that.
Well, I would make a motion to approve the certificate of compliance with the addition that Amy just stated, that there would be a request that the landscaper submit a letter saying they will stop applying the compost.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are we already asking for that, or just in this
That's my
scenario?
motion. That is my motion.
Okay,
They did state in an email that they would be willing to cease.
yeah.
So whether that is enough for the commission, that's up to you guys. And I would articulate to them that, yes, they need to do that. Because we did specify, this order of conditions did specify none. I know we may have future discussions about what might be proper, but this order of conditions said they're not supposed to be doing any.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wow, okay.
Was
All
that-
those- Is that in favor or?
Aye.
All those, wait a minute. Start again.
It was
All those
4
in
and 1.
favor?
4 and 1, yeah.
4 and 1?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That one is not that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have certificate of compliance for 49 Snowen Road, map 15, parcel N2, SE 32-2479 for reconstruction of an existing pier, ramp, and float with dredging.
So since our last discussion on this, maybe a month or two ago, where the commission had said they wanted the section of pier that was over the salt marsh to be cut back to the 3-foot, which is what was permitted. They have done so. So I would recommend a cert of compliance for this one now. Ryan from Ty and Bond is also online if you have any questions. I view this project as now in compliance.
Anyone? Sophia, Mark,
I have nothing.
Vivian?
No, all set.
I have nothing. Can we have a motion?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. So next, we have,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have certificate of compliance for 99 Riverside Drive, map 4, parcel A3-A1, SE 32-2355, for construction of an addition to a single-family home along with a driveway configuration.
Project is in compliance. The driveway ended up being actually less square footage than we approved. The mitigation area includes more plants than we approved, and they've established well. We would recommend approval of the cert.
Discussion, anyone?
No.
I'll move we approve the certificate of compliance for 99 Riverside Drive, map 4, parcel A3-A1, SE 32-2355.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. And then we have request for certificate of compliance for 397 Route 28, map 13, parcel D1, SE 32-2424 for site cleanup to strip soil contaminated with heavy metals and covering them with 3 feet of clean soil.
This one is not quite ready for a certificate of compliance yet. The grasses on the slope are looking good, but the shrub plantings have not been done, and they need to get done. So I've spoken with the applicant, and they are going to do it this spring. So they asked to table this matter for now. There's not a motion needed.
Okay.
Refresh my memory, where is this located?
The handler,
Handler property?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Before we get on to discussion, we had a request, there was a certificate of compliance issued for something way back in the day. And the property is transferring, and this one's a hindrance on the deed. It's for 75 Shore Road. And actually what's on it is, the thing that's outstanding is the Nantucket cable, where it comes into, for some reason it was recorded on this property, even though it's not on this property. So we issued a cert of compliance. They lost the original. It never got recorded, so you don't.
Which property is this? Because that cable does go underneath that property there. It's right on the corner, the one that just got sold.
Not directly on the corner,
Okay, it's not that one?
no. I think there was some roadway work maybe near this one, that's why it was on it. It was issued a cert, they didn't record it, they need a wet, fresh signatures so that the property can transfer. So, I just need you to sign it.
Okay. So we have for discussion and possible vote. First, a review of a legal opinion on the possibility of reinstalling stairs at 23 Walther Road.
Would you like me to introduce it?
Please do.
So the Conservation Commission has care and custody of a parcel of open space at 23 Walther Road that borders along Nantucket Sound. The deed says that the property shall be used for passive recreation and conservation purposes. Last winter, There had been a set of stairs there for many years. I don't know how long, but there had been a set of stairs there. Those stairs got destroyed in the several winter storms that we had last year. There are hard structures to either side of this property, so a lot of energy gets directed onto this property, which didn't help matters. So the stairs were destroyed. Abutters had requested, or neighbors, I should say, had requested that the stairs be rebuilt. When I went and looked at the deed, it was clear to me that it says no structures shall be on the property with the exception of a bike rack. Didn't say anything about a set of stairs. The bathhouse that was previously there had been removed in some way. So I had let the neighbors know that that's how the deed read, and I don't know if when the property was conveyed to the town in 1986, if there were stairs there or not, but I couldn't in good faith recommend that we rebuild them when we have a deed that's pretty specific that says no structures except for a bike rack on the property. We requested council opinion for that. Attorney Katie Klein of KP Law opined that stairs should not be rebuilt on that property per the deed. It went to the select board, and I believe there was some disagreement on the select board, but they wanted Conservation Commission's opinion on this. So my professional opinion is that we should not be, minus the whole, it would have to get permit, obviously, with wetlands protection and all that if we go forward, but minus all that, I think this deed prohibits it. And I recommend not pursuing the rebuild of stairs here.
Okay, so Mark,
Question. How accessible is it over foot right now without the stairs? I haven't gone downstairs.
It is a 6-foot drop. It is not accessible. My guess is, and there may be people here that after the commission talks, they may be able to weigh in on what it was there. My guess is that 20, 30, 40 years ago, the dune might have been more gradual there, and stairs weren't needed, and you could have gotten down. And then maybe erosion happened and stairs somehow got built there. But it is not accessible right now. There was a 6-foot ladder that somebody had put on the beach going up it, and I did remove that because it is a town property, and that's a safety issue in my mind. We don't want people climbing up and down. There is access a 1/10 of a mile down the road on Neal Road, and in order to get to this property, you have to cross one private property. You could walk at mean high water, and you could still access this property from Neal Road.
Is it accessible to add a little bit of sand right there so it was a slope that could be traveled on?
It would probably be more than a little sand, and actually, the commission did just say, okay, there's work being done on the revetment to the west, and there's a little excess sand that's been made, and you voted to accept that sand onto this property. It's possible, however, the bank, where the slope is now, the top of the slope, it's kind of precarious, but it is packed. So no matter if you put a lot of sand there or not to make a path, I don't think it's going to last very long. It's going to get trampled down and potentially be hazardous. Because you're going from a unconsolidated sediment that you're just depositing there that's very loose, and the bank is tough.
Does there need to be a barrier at the top for safety?
Potentially, if that depends on how you view this.
Vivian,
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I don't think you're going to be able to access that. I know the beach well, the last 20 years, so I don't think you're gonna be able to access it safely without stairs there. I agree with what you said, Amy. Yeah, this is a tough one, in my opinion. But, so
Sophia,
the deed,
are you done? I'm sorry.
sorry, no, go
I
ahead,
didn't
go
mean
ahead.
to interrupt you.
I don't know. I think if that's the interpretation of the deed, is that that wasn't the wish of the person who left it to the town, then I think that's our responsibility, is to respect that. I don't know, would a barrier at the top for safety be a structure, and what would that?
I think I think it would be something that we could, if you wanted to do just split rail or something with some signage, that we could do that administratively, and it would be for the purpose of preventing further erosion. There is a sign there, or there was, it's probably gone now. But
I feel that when people give the town property under specific conditions, we should pay attention to them and go by what those are.
I agree with
I've
that.
seen it happen before where it hasn't been like that, and it infuriates me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we get in trouble when we start imposing what we wish the thing says as
That's
opposed to
right.
what it actually says. So I think we just need to honor what the deed says.
Absolutely, and
However, there may be people in the room who want to comment on this, so anyone? Yes, sir.
come on up, Matt.
Matt Sutphin, Harwich Center, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Amy. I'm certainly heartened by my sense of your position on this. You may remember that I wrote you a letter announcing that this field was my father's pony field when he was a kid, and that I used to play under the cabana that used to be there when I was 7. I had a fort under the cabana. I spent a lot of time digging out under it. And I can assure you that the cabana was connected to the stairway going down. Mr. or Mrs. Jenkins were not going to walk across an unimproved area between their cabana and the stairs. That was just not how they would think. So somebody must have decided when it was to be burned down by the fire department that the stairs should stay. That person was, frankly, beyond his authority because he wasn't following the deed, the restriction. And everybody, the neighbors all got used to having basically a free beach. So I can appreciate when you get used to a free beach, you don't want to give it up. But I am heartened by, I'm heartened that you, while none of you probably ever knew Josephine Jenkins, I did. I know what she looks like, and I can go to bed tonight feeling that she got what she wanted. That it didn't, her request, it did not get overturned. So I hope that's how you vote, and I'm very grateful we can do. Thank you.
Anything else? So just one comment is, if there is a concern about the safety and perhaps obstructing passage there, wouldn't we consider planting as opposed to building a structure?
I was just going back to, actually, I was thinking what you were asking, and maybe I missed the point about putting a structure there where the deed says no structures, and that would include a fence, so plantings would be a better idea. And, rudimentary, like we have rudimentary signage up, just refreshing that every once in a while to remind people that they shouldn't. So that way we continue to honor the deed and not put up a blockade.
So shall we vote on
You
the
could-
message to,
Vote to accept council's interpretation and that stairs should not be rebuilt here.
okay, I will move that we accept town council's interpretation that there should be no new stairs built on 23 Walther Road.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
0. Next, we have discussion and possible vote for removal of invasive plants at 0 Bank Street, map 32, parcel R7-A, property under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission by request of the Harwich Fire Association.
I'll speak to this. So the Harwich Fire Association had me out to look at the picture, the area that is pictured here in your site summary. It's basically if you drive into the new parking lot for the fire station and the Cold Brook Eco Preserve, and you go straight back. This fire station's on your left, old bogs are on your right. This is straight in front of you. They cleared and did work right up to the property line. The property where you see the no disturbance, that's your land. What they would like to do, with your permission, is to remove what is mainly honeysuckle in that area. It's about 10 to 20 feet wide, and it extends farther up north and then to the south as you're heading towards the eco reserve. They'd like to remove the invasives there so that, one, to clean it up a little bit, but also to remove the invasives there. And there's not a planting plan yet. I was just going to recommend seeding that area. I think it's going to be a little futile to do plants just yet, because it is a pretty aggressive invasion there. Also, they're not proposing to remove the sycamore maples, and I believe that the leaves of the sycamore maple can actually prohibit growth of new native vegetation. So I wouldn't want to see anything substantial, not make it. So what I would recommend, one, so it's your land, so you have to be okay to it. And then they would need, I would recommend just an admin review for the removal of the invasives in that swath, and then the seeding with a native grass or wildflower mix or something like that, to see what takes in that area.
So you're saying we should approve both parts of that?
I would say if you would let me do an administrative review for that, for the actual work, and then you approve that you are assenting to the activity on your land.
So, did you discuss with them your reservations about the sycamore maple?
I did. Lindsay Strode from Cape Organics gave the quote of the work. He said they can be allelopathic at times, which means they can, either the leaves or roots or something can release some toxins to prevent growth. And that's what makes things invasive sometimes, is that they amend the soils. So
why don't they want to remove them?
I think that's outside the scope of work at this time. There's quite a lot of them, and they're quite big.
I see.
They didn't know that they were, and Sophia, correct me if I'm wrong about sycamore maples, but they didn't know they were invasive maples until I went out there and looked at it with them. It's hard, especially in the wintertime, to tell things, but it's just not in their scope at this time.
Anything? Sophia, any comments?
So, sorry if I missed this. So they're just clearing out all of the invasive shrubs and then seeding under the maples with like a meadow mix,
That's what I would recommend for right now,
just to hold the,
just to hold the soils and get something to try to grow there.
and then I'm sorry, is there a plan after that, or are we just?
We
not
don't
sure?
know it yet. I don't know how well, and maybe you know better, how well other plants will take being under several, a bunch of sycamore maples.
Yeah, I don't really know either.
So it's
But-
pretty shrubby as you go back. I think even just the meadow mix would be in line with what they did on some of the property, some of the Coldbrook Eco Restoration areas.
Is that what, and did the contractor think that was a good choice?
I don't think we talked extensively about it. I'm sure they would do what we wanted them to do.
Yeah.
I can clarify with Cape Organics.
Okay. I would think he would probably, he'd know better than I what
Yeah.
would seem best under them.
Yeah, he couldn't make it tonight, so.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else?
I don't have anything, very simple.
We just vote to approve.
Approve the, a vote to allow the activity on land that you have care and custody of, and to let me do an administrative review for it.
So moved.
Perfect.
Stole the words from my mouth.
I knew it.
Not
Second.
naturally a thief. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Third, under discussion possible vote, discussion of possible bylaw changes addressing record-keeping and reporting requirements for application of landscape treatments such as fertilizers and pesticides. We had a long discussion in our last, well, maybe it wasn't that long, but our last meeting about a specific instance which motivated me to sit down and write down what I thought should be something the town should consider. There's a more general discussion that we need to have as well, which we have acknowledged as well recently in this, in the commission, about just generally the use of such things. But it became very clear to me last month that there are products out there that are being used on lawns which result in extremely excessive application of nitrogen and phosphorus on lawns. And I think my view of that problem, along with the issue that's just a perennial issue for us, which is us requiring no application of fertilizers, pesticides, and other things on people's lawns in buffer zones. I think that an initial step that we should be taking toward trying to resolve those issues is to simply require people who are in the business of applying these landscape treatments in the town of Harwich to keep detailed records of what they're doing and report in summary fashion to the town every year what they have done. So that's my proposal here, and I have drafted a proposed bylaw that accomplishes this. I do think that, well, the other point that I want to make is that there have been discussions in town meeting in particular, but elsewhere, about restrictions on the application of, there have been discussions about restrictions on the applications of fertilizers in particular, and one of the counter arguments has been that we need more education on these things. And my view is that placing a requirement for reporting, keeping detailed records and reporting in a summary form to the town is actually an educational step. That there's a lot that's unclear about what is actually being done and what the effects of what is actually being done are. And I think that one step towards educating the public is educating the public about, giving the public information about what is being applied to lawns and other landscape features in Harwich. So if I might just go on for a few more minutes about what's in the proposed bylaw, there are 4 sections. One section is about what materials are the subject of this. That's A. B is is a specification of records that need to be kept. C is a specification of the summary reports that would be due to the town on an annual basis. Then, well, D specifies exactly who, D and E specify exactly who needs to be doing this, who this law, who this bylaw would apply to. And then there are a couple of clauses about penalties if these things aren't abided by. So, just having said that, we could go through the details. I'm not sure that's a good use of our time tonight, but if people want to talk about them, that's fine too. I also think that a more general discussion needs to be had. I personally would prefer to talk about this tonight and get some sense of what the commission thinks about that. I had a discussion with Mike McCaskill 2 days ago. Same time I sent this to Amy, I sent it to Mike, and also members of the board of the Harwich Ponds Coalition to let them know what this was about. But I do think we have to have this more general discussion, which Sophia has done some looking into, and I think there's some other items in here addressing those. But I'd like to talk about this first, get some sense about where what commissioners think about this idea, and then we can either proceed tonight if we feel we have time, or put it on the agenda for next time. So that's my spiel, and there may be people in the room who want to comment on this, but we'll do this thing we always do, is we talk about it on the commission, and then Commissioner's going to discuss first, and then you'll have an opportunity.
Well, let's come closer so we can
Yeah.
hear your discussion better.
Sure.
Okay. So Amy, sure.
Yeah, if you don't mind. So, I appreciate everybody's time in coming up with this. It's not unknown that we have a problem with nutrients. 14%, they say on average, is practice of nutrients that get into our water bodies, potentially come from landscaping type practices. And that's not a small amount. Sewering will take care of a lot, but not everything. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this ahead of the meeting tonight and how to proceed with this. And I do think that we do need to make some changes to regulations and guidance and educational materials. But I think in order to come up with said bylaws, that it would be to our benefit, I think, in gaining support for things, to have more of a roundtable discussion with people in the industry, because they're the ones that are going to have to abide by these regulations. And I've spoken with a few prior to the meeting tonight, and a couple are completely on board with having to do some reporting, and because they're tired of people who are doing bond practices who really don't know what they're doing and who are applying too much at the wrong amount of time and things like that. So I think you'll find that, I know that, we have a deadline if we want to get something on for town meeting, but I think it's worthwhile to take a little time and have even just a separate meeting set down with people from various aspects of the industry to get their input, because if they can get behind it, you're going to have a much easier time, I think, at town meeting. And I think it'll be we have to do something. I completely agree with that, because, we have a bloom in Hinckley Pond in January. It's insane. We've had one since December 26th, we've had a bloom throughout Hinkley Pond. And it's not, I'm not saying it's just because of, it's not just because of one thing, but there are contributing factors, and this is a contributing factor that every single person in the town of Harwich can help contribute to make better. So, get off my soapbox.
Okay, Wayne.
This is interesting. Is this just gonna be for residential lawns and whatnot, or how far is this gonna go? Is the golf course gonna be included in this, the
Well-
town-owned properties?
What is written here, let's see, which, it's toward the end about who these things apply to. It's, Part D, the above requirements apply to any landscape applicators providing services on any property in the town of Harwich, as well as any commercial enterprise, business, or other institution acting as landscape applicator on their own behalf, or any department or agency of the town of Harwich that acts as a landscape applicator for the town of Harwich. Now, my intention was that the golf courses would fit into one of those categories or not, or other, but, you know, this is a draft, and if I'm open, I'm very open to suggestions about how to tighten the language up. And then the next item is individual landowners, homeowners, are exempt from the above requirements when acting as a landscape applicator for their own primary residential property. And to me, that's the only exception. That's my intent, anyway.
All right, well, there needs to be an agricultural exemption in here. Make sure that it doesn't fall in, somebody get in a broad way of thinking and wants to stop everything. Can't do that.
This isn't stopping anything, by
Well-
the way, Wayne. This is not telling anyone that they can't do anything. It's just requiring people to report. That's all it is.
For now.
Okay.
Camel's nose under the tent, in my mind. But anyway, I agree that there are some people who go overboard putting fertilizer down. I understand that. We run across it and we find super green lawns right next to wetlands and harbors and rivers and the whole thing. I think it's just something we should go after them individually rather than do a town-wide situation. I don't kind of like that. But I'm only one person. I'm willing to talk about it.
Vivian?
I have so many things, I don't even know where to begin. I agree that, this is a serious problem, and I'm learning more and more about it the longer I sort of sit here, and even as somebody who came to seek a permit, it wouldn't have, unless that's an order of conditions that, I was ignorant to, I'll be honest with you, about, you just don't think about it. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are fertilizing, using landscapers. You just don't, as a homeowner, you just don't think about it. So I do agree that there has to be absolutely further conversation about it, some kind of an attempt to further educate people like me and just to sort of your average, Joe Soap. I think this is a good start, but I agree with I think it was Amy's comment that I feel like this should be part of a larger conversation with, more people involved. It seems a little previous to me to sort of draft something up here and then just make it sort of a blanket expectation for, anybody this pertains to in town. So I'd like more time, I'd like more conversation about it. But I 100% agree with you that this is, you see it, I can see it on the beach. I haven't been to Hinkley's Pond, but I think you would be surprised at how, for want of a better word, ignorant a lot of folks are to this, myself included, up until very recently. So I think this could be the beginning of a larger conversation. That's what I'd like to see.
There should be a public hearing about it. We should advertise and have people come in
Yeah,
and talk with us.
this is all
about it.
beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this is the beginning, I understand.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just submitting a citizen's petition with this attached out of the blue is not gonna go anywhere.
No.
I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with
Mhm.
that. But I feel pretty strongly that something close to this is necessary as a first step.
Mhm.
And I do agree that there has to be a dialogue, absolutely, with the people who are doing this.
Yeah.
And without general support in town, it's not gonna go anywhere. And we need to go through the process. And to me, yes, I agree. This is a start.
And just not the applicators or whatever the landscapers, but the general public. The
Yeah.
homeowners or whatnot should be here talking about it or listening or whatever.
To the extent we can get them in the room.
I understand, I know how it goes.
Yes, sir.
What you're suggesting is very important. And I think it's far beyond the reach of our town. But, there's already state licensing in place. There's a lot of applicators that need to do reporting as it is already. And I think those considerations need to be looked at. To do something on a local level, to me, that almost, it's pretty much redundant. The first question I've got with that is who's the agency or the body that would manage this? Does this come under the health department, under the conservation department, under what department in town? Who's the teeth? Who's going to drive this when it's all said and done? And I think that's going to be a big factor. But the general education of people and the understanding is going to be crucial for the entire project. The 14% that you mentioned, Amy, first thing I'm curious about is what are the other factors? There's 86 other percent. What are they? I mean, in the conversation, I think those details need to be represented.
I can get you the pie chart that I got that information from, and I want to say it was, I think it was Cape Cod Commission, but so land use practices are the second leading cause, according to them, of excess nutrients. The first being sewer by a long shot, something like 60 and 70%. I just stuck out to me because, it has 14. The other ones, stormwater, runoff is another one. Smaller percentages, but by far the biggest one is nutrients from your septics. The second is landscape practices.
Consideration with input from University of Massachusetts, I think would be beneficial, because I have to believe that they have resources and information that would probably be enlightening about the whole subject.
And they do, and they have recommendations about application rates, and the health department in town has, guidance, I guess, is what it should be called, about specifically application of nitrogen fertilizers on lawns. That's all there, and in here, there's a reference to that. I guess my other point about what you're saying, Mark, is that we as taxpayers are going to be putting the bill for, I don't know what the number is, several $100 million worth of wastewater treatment in this town, and ignoring, another, whatever it is, 5, 10, or 15% contribution to the problem is a mistake. And that we need to know what that is, and we need to start getting some control over that. And part of that control is just understanding what is being done, having data about what is being done. And I think the town owes it to the people they're asking to pay for huge wastewater project, to also acknowledge this second larger piece of the problem and start getting some information, educating the town itself and the citizens of the town what those contributions actually are.
I'm not suggesting that it be ignored or pushed under the rug. I think probably what I'm suggesting is a little broader look at it. The notion that other conversations have taken regarding nitrogen attenuation, settlement ponds and so forth, and the wetland restoration projects. These are things that have taken place with little to no scientific information, no data. I haven't heard about any monitoring wells. I haven't heard about the radius that these things are going to encompass. So there's a lot of money that's put out for things of that nature. Potentially, they're all beneficial, but there's a lack of evidence and facts there. And what I'm suggesting is these facts be accumulated accurately before it goes too
Yeah.
far.
That's what this is about.
I understand what it is, John.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
all set?
Yes.
Sophia?
Well, gosh, I don't know. I don't really know where to start. I think that I'm in favor of, I think that things like best management practices and having these sort of like benchmarks for industry specifically to follow is a good thing, and I think that serves as education. I think you're totally right on that. I think that I don't know, I guess I agree with Amy that it needs to be a conversation because it is such like, it's an industry-specific issue to some degree. There's also, I think, there's some percentage of that 14% that's also like homeowner, and I don't even know how we would touch that. They're an exception in this case. I don't see how that would be, you know, something we could affect with anything other than just whatever education. But regardless, I think there are a lot of applicators who do things by the book and do a soil test and, you know, look at the UMass recommendations from that soil test and, you know, okay, I need nitrogen, I need this. For me, that should be the case whether or not it's a buffer zone. I think plants need what they need to be healthy, and it's our job to give them that in a responsible manner. I think I like that I like what you did, and I like that we're having this conversation, and I like where it's going, and I just think that like everybody should get the opportunity to weigh in, especially like I don't really take care of lawns, so I want to hear from people who do and what this would look like for their business and what added burden is it, what, you know, the benefit is that I guess that you're doing the right thing and you're using the right products at the right time, your clients are happy, you're, you know, not wasting money throwing fertilizer out the window, whatever. But I don't know, I think it's just important to get that public buy-in because otherwise there's just no conversation being had, and that's such a shame because I think that a lot of us are on the same page. So I applaud this, and I think we should just keep talking. And
So just as a point of information,
Mhm.
it's not just about lawns. This thing here is not just about
I
lawns.
understand.
So you do planting beds and probably work on people's properties that have extensive planting beds.
I
don't
do,
know
but
what you do, but
sorry.
and I personally don't have much of a sense of how much that part of it is any part of the problem. I would love to know, but I don't know, and I doubt anybody knows.
It's more of like a business structure thing where I am a tiny business. I am just me, and I'm specialized. So I'm thinking about the people I know who have businesses where they have 7 trucks that they send out to treat lawns, and how does that look for them in their day, and how does that look for them in their training? So that's what I'm just curious about including them in the conversation, I
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So the Russ, is that Russ Holden?
Norton,
Norton, that's what I meant,
yes,
with the cooperative extension, right?
yes.
Writing myself a little list of people to invite if we have more conversations.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Tom Birch, resident of Harwich since 1979, landscaper, beekeeper, love the environment. I think you guys are heading, or this thing is heading down the wrong path. MDR controls all licensed applicators. You want to require another license for the town of Harwich? Question.
Are you asking me
Yeah.
that question? What I'm after is the town of Harwich knowing what is going on properties in the town of Harwich.
Okay.
And go.
Okay,
That's what I'm after.
licensed
That's the question.
applicators are insured, monitored, gone over with the state, calibrated, do it right. A big portion of the problem is the uneducated homeowners out there just buying and throwing and flinging. I did an unofficial study one day at Home Depot. I asked 12 people buying fertilizer how big their lawns were. Not one person knew one person knew. He said, I have 11,000 square feet. Every other person said, I buy the biggest bag because I get the biggest bang for the buck. Okay, you got a 5,000 square foot lawn and you put a 15,000 square foot bag on it, you totally over fertilized. The licensed contractor takes that bag, uses what he needs, calibrated on lawn A, takes the rest of it to lawn B, lawn C, and he records every property, everything. It's already done. As far as the licensing, I would rather see you, and I think part of our overall wastewater management application and everything required, and we said we were going to initiate education and training. This is probably the 6th or 7th time I've spoken before a board, whether it's selectmen or conservation or whatever, and everyone goes, yeah, we need to educate. Nothing's happened. I've talked to Cindy Williams at the Chamber of Commerce. She's looking into getting grants for soil tests. I think we need to educate the homeowners. That's my opinion. And let MDR do the other thing. You're going to get piles of paperwork, and no one's good. I don't see how it's ever going to work, and who's going to enforce it?
Well,
I'd rather see we get 20 people in a room, and those 20 people make 40 people, and 40 people make 80 people, and we solve some of the problems by education. There's a whole bunch that goes into green lawns. Tom Birch must fertilize his lawn 35 times a day. No, it's cultural practice. Mowing at proper height, proper watering, cation exchange, soil tests. Are you familiar with pH? If a lawn's acid, the fertilizer doesn't work. By the points. I can get into it all, but
so, we've had these discussions in public at town meeting, and they've gone nowhere, or at least the actions have gone nowhere. And so I agree. One of the points that's been made in public and town meeting is it's all about proper application. And I applaud those of you who go by, the recommendations, don't put any more nitrogen down than anyone knows will ever be taken up by the plants you're trying to feed. That's great. Unfortunately, not everybody does that. And while I don't even know what the constraints are on someone who just decides they're going to do this for business, looks for customers, starts throwing stuff down on the lawn, is the state going to go after them because they don't have a license? I don't know. From my point of view, and what do you say about someone who runs a big landscape business and puts down products that are clearly just putting way too much nutrients on people's lawns? That's fine if you're running your business in a conscientious and deliberate way, that's great. Clearly, there are people who are not. And we, as a Conservation Commission, see a piece of that in that we see plenty of people who are too close to wetlands resources, putting stuff on their lawns. They've been told they can't, and they ignore us. And so my view is that part of the solution to that problem is to force them and everybody else to report what are they doing. So in a case where we see someone who has clearly been putting fertilizer and herbicides on their lawns within the 100-foot buffer where they have an order of conditions that's told them they can't do that, it's very difficult for us to enforce that because we have to go taking soil samples and try to prove what they've done. It'd be much easier for us if there was a record, we could go to a landscaper and say, we want to see your records for this property, and look at the records and tell them they can't do that. And so there are enforcement problems all over the place. If I go 65 down the Mid-Cape, what are the odds that I'm going to get pulled over by state police and ticketed? I think they're like 0.1% or something. That is not a reason not to have speed limits. And I feel the same way about this. We need to set up some structure where what people are doing is known and made available to the town and to the taxpayers who are feeling the brunt of these problems.
If it's a state licensed contractor, you can get the information on a property if that's what you're looking for. And if you're gonna, if you think you're gonna get the town of Harwich, every landscaper in the town of Harwich and Cape Cod to get a license to work in the town of Harwich, it's just not gonna work.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah.
So I'm just not familiar with it, with the reporting that your companies like yourself have to do. So,
Yeah, well, I sub it out,
right,
but
but what do you have to report each property? What do you have to report to MDR?
they're strict, they have a card for each property that they take care of, and they monitor it, and they record it, and they calibrate it, they put down X pounds of nitrogen per property, regulated by the state. They don't want to put down extra. It comes in their bottom line. You're probably talking about the crazy fly-by-night guys that think they know what they're doing, but you're not talking, the professional people aren't going to put down the extra product. And I saw some of your things and you kept harping on phosphorus. Think phosphorus is a problem? It is a problem. We haven't applied commercial phosphorus in 12 years. Where's it coming from? It's been banned from fertilizer in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for over 12 or 14 years.
I could walk down to Agway and buy products not necessarily intended for...
Organic fertilizer has phosphorus. Everyone goes, oh, it's organic, it's great. No. You can go to Agway, but the professional guys don't go to Agway and buy it. They buy it, and I can go get you 20 bags, and it'll all show you that 0 is the middle number. So if you're claiming the phosphorus is going into the water, why is it not all gone?
I'm curious if what you have to report already to MDR is a lot of what is being asked to do here, and instead of maybe create, maybe we get a better feel for what MDR
I can get you that
requiring.
information, and I'll
That would
work
be
with you
great.
guys. I've offered to help develop education.
And so instead of somebody having to apply something a little different for us versus MDR, if a lot of those questions can be answered,
Right.
then it's less work for everybody, and we still have an idea of what's happening.
Well, if you are already reporting all these details that I'm asking for here,
Well, like I said, I sub it out, but
well, whatever, if somebody has that
they're
information...
doing it.
Why can't they just give it to the town so it's accessible to us?
They
Either
probably
that
could. I'll ask them.
or-
Nobody's asked.
So I have another question for you, though, which is, one of your points is the real problem is homeowners.
It's a huge
as opposed to
problem.
Professionals. Okay,
I would love to see how
I
many...
don't have an opinion about that, but my question to you about that is, how would you change what's written here to account for that issue? I mean, I think what you're saying is you don't like the idea of this thing at all.
I don't like being regulated to death when education would do better. I think education, and if you did it right, and you said, hey, we're going to be a leader in the industry, we're going to be a leader in the towns, and we're going to educate our people and say, okay, you go to see Cindy Williams, so you get a voucher for a free soil test. and you get 50 people, and we come in there as contractors and help analyze it.
I think that's a great idea. My question is, I mean, that's been the response the last several years. This has come up before the town, is we need education. Nothing has been done about it before.
Oh.
And the one thing I'm aware of that is, well, this conversation is happening, which is the start of that, and I'm all in favor of that. There is an entity called the Harwich Ponds Coalition, which is in the process of booting up, and one of the items on their list of priorities is exactly that, educating. But everybody has to get involved in the education process as well. We do, you guys do, we need people taking initiative to educate the public. So, and
It's got to come
this,
from you guys.
So,
It doesn't come from
couple-
the public back to you. It comes from you guys and
Yeah.
say, we're going to be a leader.
it's not just us. We have jurisdiction over,
Well, I think you would turn heads if you said, we're going to start an education process and teach the homeowners how to do it right.
We did, it kind of got slightly kicked off the ground about 2-3 years ago. We had 1 or 2 sessions. I was working with Sean Fernandez, the
Yeah,
greenskeeper.
we got the golf
and
course
then
guys that would be more than
health,
happy to help out.
We
It's
tried
not
to
rocket
hold,
science.
we tried to hold something last year over at the 204 with Russ. One person came, but it was also probably, we did advertise it quite a bit. But it's something that I'm passionate about, is making sure that people are doing the right things on their properties. And I know the health department, we're already talking about having a soil science component to our people's garden and just teaching people about soil science. So I think this fits nicely into that. And so for the education, regardless of where regulation goes, I agree, we can do a better job with the education piece.
And
And-
I'd have town council look at the ability to license over the state licenses as
Yeah.
well. I don't think that will fly, but
But
It's
we
just
would
my
love
personal opinion.
volunteers who are in the industry to come and help teach
yeah,
people too.
I would be
So-
more than happy. Just one quick question. Why do you think our soil on Cape Cod is so bad? Because we live on a sandbar?
I don't know whether it's that or 400 years of depletive agriculture.
Yeah, we had the most dense forests in New England, and our forefathers cut down every tree and all the soil blew out to sea. So that's why we have to use soil amendments, and something I've been very instrumental in is aerate overseed top dress with organic compounds, and that's why my lawns look so good. Not because I fertilize them 30 times a week, it's because I test the soils, I analyze them, and if I could tell a homeowner they could get a soil test for $29, or if Cindy can get them for free, and then you can say, hey, your pH is way, way acid. Throw down the line. And the fertilizer works better. You use less fertilizer, and the fertilizer doesn't leach, and the phosphorus is not leaching because it's still there from 15 years ago.
So my question to you is, if you're top dressing your lawn with a product like Super Peat or some other product that includes biosolids, some kind of peat moss, and compost, how much nitrogen is in that product?
I test
How
all
much
the,
phosphorus is in that
I
product?
test all the soils.
Not the soils, the product.
Super
that-
Peat.
the
Yeah, I
product
test
that-
the soil that I'm putting down.
uh,
And I tested Child's, and I get it from one specific place with the best pH and the best nitrogen and the best everything. So that makes the fertilizers work better, makes you use less water, makes the grass greener. If I was a young man, I'd be starting an organic fertilizer program by not using any fertilizer. I'd just use the compost. Well, we got different opinions. I'd rather see education, and I'd be happy to work with you guys on it.
Can I just say something? I mean, you're answering I've got more questions. We could be here all night with
Oh, I know.
with the number of questions that I have that I would want you to answer. So I think it goes back to what I said earlier, which is, I would love it to be part of a larger
Oh, yeah, it
conversation.
definitely has to be.
You
The
know what I
only
mean?
reason I knew about this was because Michael called me, because I take care of his lawn.
I have
I don't
like an
fertilize
envision
lawn,
of
but aerate, oversee.
a round table where I've written down 20 companies that I know do business in Harwich, and to invite people to have this open discussion so we can see what current practices are, what reporting they're doing, if there's just possible for us to get copies of things that they're already reporting to the state. And I
I'd love
think
to
it
see how
could
much-
be a very educational opportunity. Because I'll admit, I don't know. I just don't know the practice, what your requirements are. I'm not
No, I
certified.
know, that's why
Yeah.
I got the paperwork got too
Yeah.
much for me to do, so I just sub it off.
Yeah,
I oversee them, but I don't.
I'd be happy to coordinate.
Well, if you
A round
could just
table.
explain to us what it is your subcontractor reports to
Yeah, I'll
the
go
state.
talk to them,
That
see how it's broken down.
that would be helpful. And I absolutely agree that we need to get it. I mean, this is this is just a start, getting the conversation going. And I would still like to see this happen, but it's not gonna happen unless there's support for it. And either way, we need to have a more complete conversation with more people in the industry and homeowners. But I think people in the industry who see something like this, and they're either gonna say, I don't wanna do that, so they're gonna come and talk about it, or they're gonna look at it and think, maybe this would be a good thing, and they'll want to come and talk about it. Individual homeowners, it's gonna be hard to get them into a room to talk about this, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Non-resident taxpayers association meeting?
You just start small, and you be a leader in the, instead of banning and regulating and all this other stuff, educate. If you educate a kid, they thrive. If you tell them they can't do something, and you gotta fill out 7 pages of paperwork, they're gonna go do it anyways. Education's where it's at. That's my
Thank you.
opinion. I'm happy to work with anybody on it, and I'd be more than happy to round up 50 guys to come in here in a meeting and talk to you about why this wouldn't really do any better than what we're doing now.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not gonna keep you guys here all night.
Oh, this is early for us.
But
This
I
is
would be
quite
more
early
than
for
happy
us.
to come back when you do have that big meeting and talk to you.
We're gonna do that. Anything else?
I got one thing, Dave.
Sure.
I can't help but wonder if initially the focus on this should be on the areas of jurisdiction under the commission.
Same thing.
Start out in that vein and then let it spread. That's a place where you can spread education with proper information. You can also restrict what or what doesn't happen. And I think that might be beneficial for the whole movement to grow.
Can you enlarge on that idea? I'm not sure what you're suggesting.
The 50-foot no disturb zone is exactly that, it's no disturb. Prohibiting things in the next 50 feet is another step because it is jurisdictional. But if there is a measure of education that can be applied regarding composting, proper irrigation, good practice, that's an opportunity for it to grow and spread. It's an opportunity for the education to spread.
Okay, I'm just not following what actions you're suggesting we should take.
In an order of conditions, if specifics are arranged for a general overview of practice going forward, I think that could encompass a lot of ground.
In order to deviate, like right now, it potentially would have to be a regulation in order to be actually enforceable. And if it was to be a change from what we currently do. So, that's not a problem. It's just,
Is every piece on the list of requirements on on an order of conditions currently right now within regulation?
Oh, I'd have to look. See what we have currently for fertilization and
Are you
whatnot.
saying that the orders of conditions should be more prescriptive? We should
Yes.
prescribe in more detail.
I've said that before, John,
Right.
and what I've alluded
Specific-
to, seed mixture, anything of that relation, any specific details, because some of that stuff is very, very vague. And a good example is just recently, we had somebody do some composting, there was question about the information that you brought up regarding the volume of nitrogen, and according to the way you read the regulations, the composting is permitted.
I don't read them that way, but okay, I think that little bit absolutely needs to be tightened up. And the word nutrient has to be used as opposed to fertilizer, or in conjunction with the word fertilizer. We need to have a conversation about updating those things. But really, those issues are town-wide. They're not just restricted to jurisdictional areas for the Conservation Commission. And we have a problem in the jurisdictional areas for the Conservation Commission of people ignoring. And we're prescriptive. We prescribe specific seed mix, didn't we, for something we dealt with tonight? And
Yeah,
they
yeah,
just
you're right.
decided they were doing something else.
Yeah.
Why they were, they had a reason for that, but
There was never that communication,
all the time, and it's not clear whether they didn't read it or it was just an exigency. They just decided that right now, we want to see lawn here quick. We don't want to throw seed down and wait for the spring to see it sprouting. So we're going to put down turf.
Well, that was an individual just about a half hour ago.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
mean,
that's
that,
what I'm saying.
they pointed out that had to do with the seasonality of it, because they probably weren't gonna get germination, so it made sense to do that. Unfortunately, there wasn't any communication, and there probably should have been, but, we all had the opportunity to step up and do something about it at that point, and we approved it. I approved it because it made sense of what they did, and the product that they used wasn't a lot different.
I'm just saying that being prescriptive is maybe helpful, but it just doesn't always get the result you're looking for.
Right.
For whatever reason. It may be a good reason, it may be a bad reason, but and we had an example of way things were way off base, and I think that needs to be looked into from a variety of points of view, in a great deal more detail than we have right now. So,
Something.
I did at one point. I wonder if it, forgive me if I'm assuming here, but like, if having something like this, these guidelines in the buffer zones is a better place to start. And for me personally, and I know you'll disagree with this, is like, if you have, if you're going to put compost down, make sure that your supplier gets a compost test, not a soil test, a compost test so you can see the nutrient load. And make sure you have a soil test that says that your soil is deficient in X, Y, Z, so that in order to have a healthy stand of turf or whatever, this is how you need to amend. You need to adjust the pH, you need to add this much organic matter, you need to do whatever. So that there's actual, information involved in making the decisions of why you would do, I think that Super Pete ended up being really problematic. So that actually had phosphorus in it. I don't know why that's not supposed to be done without a soil test per MDAR. So things slip through the cracks, I think, regardless. But I think the point would be to really hammer home that when all of Cape Cod is porous and all of Harwich needs to have better practices, but do we start in the areas where it's critical and test out having, either getting the information from MDAR or having a requirement of if you're going to amend the soil, then you need to hand in a soil test that shows that you need that, you know, in these areas where it's crucial, rather than kind of the entire town and everybody's business.
But nitrogen that leaches into the groundwater anywhere in town will eventually end up in some wetland resource. It may be attenuated some by plant growth, but once it leaches into the soil beyond the reach of the roots of the plants, it's gonna end up in our saltwater estuary. So one of the questions, which this doesn't really address, is, okay, I have a product that has so much nitrogen in it, so much phosphorus in it, some of that is going to get taken up by plants, some of it is going to leach into the groundwater and continue to contribute.
Why are you assuming some of it's gonna leach?
Look, it could be nothing. I doubt there's anything where it's nothing. It could be insignificant. But all I'm saying
Yeah.
is, I don't know. I don't know who does know. You know, and MDR or the state and the fertilizer manufacturers themselves say, don't put more than 0.8 of a pound or a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet on any lawn. So, and I assume that means they think that will mostly get taken up by the lawn. But what happens when someone like that super peat, what's in the super peat gets applied at a rate more than 20 times that? What happens to all that extra nitrogen? It's not just phosphorus that's in there that shouldn't be there, it's an enormous amount of nitrogen. What happens to that? I assume it doesn't get taken up. Maybe more than a pound gets taken up by the grass, because the grass grows like crazy, but there's still a lot left over. Where does that go? I don't know what to assume about where that goes other than in the groundwater and eventually causing problems somewhere. If you're close to a pond or a saltwater estuary, it happens pretty quick. If you're not so close, then it takes a while. It's still a problem. And that's why we need to get the landscape experts, some people clearly know more about this than any of us who can come into a room and maybe enlighten us a little bit. But some of that stuff maybe nobody really has a handle on. I don't know. I would like to know. So, I don't know if there's any consistent sense amongst the five of us about what the next step is with this. I would like to propose that we put an item on agenda in 2 weeks to continue the discussion, not so much about this, but about the general problem. And we also need to look for a time to have a more general meeting. And
I would suggest a work session. And if it's possible, because it's winter, it would be nice to do something during the daytime. Have it in this room or have it over at the community center. Invite a lot of people in the industry to come. So I don't know what your next meeting is, not too heavy, but you will have likely 11 Riverbend on it and a couple of these other continuances. So we could certainly continue this discussion, but would it be more fruitful to have that roundtable discussion first, you think?
I think so.
I would agree.
And our people can, are certain days of the week better, times of the day better for the members of the board to have that discussion? To have a work group, a work session?
I can be flexible, yeah.
Not specifically, not at this time.
Like a Friday?
Should we throw a few dates out for us to agree on, and then we can then
Yeah, let's do that.
advertise and,
So, I'm just thinking Fridays, generally a little bit more open. And certainly getting a meeting room will be easier on a Friday. We can certainly have it in here. I mean, this room holds quite a bit. Sorry.
If I may
So
make-
what I would do is compose an email asking, kind of setting the stage, and propose, and I could send it to you guys for input. Proposing, asking folks to come and contribute to this discussion. I don't know why I cannot find my calendar. There it is. I mean, probably could get things in order for as soon as next Friday, but the next few Fridays.
So you're talking about the 17th, the 24th,
Yeah,
and the
or the
31st?
31st.
31st would be better for me.
31st would be better for me, too.
What time of day? I have a conflict in the morning on the 31st.
We could do the afternoon. 1 o'clock?
That's fine.
1 p.m. We'll make sure this room is open. 1 p.m. January 31st. Griffin Room. I will confirm that. And I'll send like a draft out of what I would like to send out to a lot of people. And feel free and comment on it or make suggestions, additions. You hear that, Tommy?
What's that?
January 31st, 1 p.m. is the plan.
Tell me on the 30th. I'll round up some info, what these guys report.
That's great. I'm sure it will be, I mean, the first people we have to educate is ourselves before we educate others, so.
That's true.
I think it'd be great if, like, a Russ could be there and.
I have
some-
Russ. So, I mean, Tommy, Lindsay Strode, Warren Nichols, Blue Flax, companies like we've seen doing practices that we question.
Maybe
Russ
like a
Norton.
Site One person?
Site One, that's a good idea.
What site one?
It's a landscape supply year, so.
O'Leary, McNamara,
Pine Tree?
Pine Tree, our greenskeeper. But even folks such as, I mean, the big, the True Greens and the Scots and, I mean, they're practicing in this town. They should at least know that we're having this conversation, I would think. Yeah. What I'll do is when we invite
Fairway.
Fairway, yeah.
Okay,
You-
weed control as well?
You can also disseminate the information out when I get it, like, to people. But also groups like the Garden Club, we have a conservation division of the Garden Club, the Ponds Coalition, Ponds Associations. I think it's also a good opportunity to educate those folks,
Yeah,
so.
totally.
The Health Department.
So, can I ask you,
Council about the possibilities of the legal ramifications of requiring a license that supersedes the Commonwealth license.
I think that's part of the process, assuming we move along with this thing. It's absolutely part of the process.
If you can't do it, you might as well
Front
throw
end,
it out.
and What Mike recommended is that I talk to someone,
But that
he
was-
talked to someone in MDR
Yeah.
about that to
Yeah.
start with. So that is a question. Definitely
Invite
a
somebody from
question.
MDR. Why not?
But I'd ask the council, like, if we can,
Yeah.
you know, it's like similar if we had to have another driver's license, drive through Harwich. State wouldn't allow that.
I can ask the question.
Yeah.
I don't think the answer is requiring a new license. That's my belief, and I'll stick to it, so.
Well, maybe, like I said, maybe what is required anyways for reporting is close to what we're looking for, and it could just be copied to us, so. Okay,
Be great.
All right.
So, do we have anything else to discuss?
minutes.
Oh, minutes.
Oh, and then I have two things, but yes, minutes first, of 12:18. Viv, we looked at your comments and clarifications, we made some changes.
I read them over, and since Viv had already done the detailed editing, I didn't make any comments about
I don't know
any little
about it.
things I saw. I just, we took out all little things, so.
One. Question I asked about the upwellers.
Mm.
In the minutes, it's referred to as how often the shellfish are harvested. The question was, how often were the wellers serviced? And that is referenced there in two places, I think, the word harvested. So it should be serviced rather than harvested.
Got it?
You got it. There you go. Good. I'm glad to know that.
Okay. I'll make sure that that's reflected.
So I move to approve the minutes of
I'll second.
December, what?
18.
December 18th, 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
So a couple of fun things. Fun thing number one is happening on Tuesday, and weather permitting, we're gonna be doing some cutting and pile burning over at Thompson's Field. So if anybody wants to come and assist, we'll be there probably from about 9 to 3 on the Route 39 side.
Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah. Second, on the 23rd, from 4 to 6 p.m., the town is hosting a volunteer fair over at a community center. And the Conservation Commission department will have a table there saying what we do, and trying to promote, see if we can get a couple more people on this commission and get our numbers up, but also look for people who are willing to help with some land management that we do as well. So I would love if a couple of you could come, even if it was just for a little while. 4 to 6 p.m.
Sorry, what day?
January 23rd, Thursday. 4 to 6 p.m. And it's at the community center. Okay. And it's also a great opportunity. It's not just government volunteer opportunities. There's lots of nonprofits coming. My Hearts and Paws group is going to be there.
The Harwich Ponds Coalition
Yep.
will be there.
Yep, Harwich Ponds Coalition will
For
be there.
membership.
Yep. So it's also a good thing. I'll send you all the flyer. But if anybody's interested, if you know people who are itching for something to do, it's going to have a wide array of volunteer opportunities in the town. So there's that. What else was I gonna? I haven't put out the Mass Association of Conservation Commissions, of which we are all members, has their annual conference. It's the first Saturday of March, and it's up in Worcester, and it is a really great conference. You can get a couple of your fundamental courses done if you wanted to.
What does that look like, Amy? Can you elaborate a little bit?
The conference,
Yeah,
it's all day
yeah.
up in Worcester at College of the Holy Cross. We can carpool up, and it's a lot of vendors exhibiting too. They're different new products that are meant to, be used in wetlands or wetland resource areas, new technologies. There's talks on everything from pond water quality and nutrients to shoreline erosion and habitat assessments and anything ecological you can think of dealing with wetlands or near wetlands. Yeah, a bunch of exhibitors. There's hundreds if not thousands of people go, and they give you lunch, and then you go home later. It is a very long day, but it's a really good day. You get to meet with other commissioners throughout the entire state to hear and see what they're doing and what they're working on, it's really cool. I haven't been in a couple of years. I'm probably gonna go this year.
And you said it's the first Saturday in
It's the
March?
first Saturday. I'm just kind of saying, if you want to do a little save the date. They haven't come out with the agenda yet. We pay for you to go, so you don't have to worry about any of that. Because it's like $150 a person. But, there's that, and I feel like there's something else I'm missing to tell you about. Can't think. Can't be that important. Oh yeah, we have a bloom in Hinkley Pond.
Still,
We couldn't tell yesterday. We were hoping it was gonna be frozen so that we wouldn't have to worry, but, it's not frozen, so we're gonna sample it tomorrow or Friday. The whole pond, I got the call the day after Christmas, saw a photo of it, said, well, yeah, that looks like algae. Couldn't believe it, but did, and went and checked it off Wallace Road, off Headwaters. Very green, took the sample back. It is one of the toxic types. So then I went all around the pond, 7 spots all around the pond to test, and they all had it in too high of quantities. So we posted it, and I sent my conclusions off to Mass Department of Public Health and Association of Reserve Cape Cod, and they agreed that it was a bloom, and it was the latest bloom in the winter that they'd ever seen in the state of Massachusetts. And this is a pond that we treated in 2019. So I gotta meet with administration to see if we can, I got a quote for some additional study of the pond, because we didn't allot enough money after the 2019 treatment to do more than a couple of years of study, and we need it to do it. So I'm gonna see if we can find a few $1,000s to
so
start this study up again.
Wagner's proposing that,
Yep.
but his proposal is relying on someone this end doing a lot of the site work, collecting samples,
Yeah.
which I think is great, because if he were doing the work, it'd probably involve a lot more money.
Yeah. It's something I need to discuss with our natural resource director to see if they have the capability of carrying out some of those tasks in their department.
I think we need to train up some volunteers in town.
Well, that too.
There are volunteers.
Well, we have the PALs.
There are PALS
Yeah.
volunteers, and I don't know if it's not clear to me whether there's anything involved with what should be done that is any more complicated than what the PALS guys already do.
Probably not. But let's have to check. But yeah, that was a surprise on the day after Christmas. Well, and it's, people are going in, like me, plunging. Not there, though. But people, dogs are still going out in the water, drinking, and it was in a pretty high concentration that could have made something sick, so.
Do you know what the water temperature was up there?
I didn't take the temp, but
I'm curious to know.
there was ice around the edge. So evidently this species, which is Dolichospermum, is less driven by temperature than it is by nutrient availability. So. And there's just been just a lot of practices that's been, leading into Hinkley Pond as part of the Long Pond watershed too. Like so many different practices over the years too. I think there's a lot of, my guess is recycled and latent nutrients in there, and not so much of a newer input, but I don't know. So. Anyway,
I have a question.
Me too.
A month and a half ago, there was some money that was gonna be turned back to CPC.
oh shoot, I don't have the number for you.
Okay.
I will let you know. We spent most of it.
We still have it, or has it gone back?
No, has not been turned back.
Okay.
I need to talk with Alan Hall about that signage he wanted.
My question also would be, can we utilize that to do a little more work up in Belzneck regarding relocating parking and so forth, and a couple of the other spots?
Yeah. I mean, Bell's Neck is a prime location for use of those funds.
Yeah, there's two good opportunities up there for improvement, so.
Okay,
if
I
you have the
will,
money, it'd be a good thing to do.
let me see how much we have left. I'll check that tomorrow.
Okay.
Quick question, do we want to have some sort of blurb to circulate about this meeting at the end of January, or are we just saying we're talking about?
I was gonna circulate to you folks, I was gonna come up with a draft blurb of what the meeting is, why we're doing it, who we're interested in, what we hope to gain out of it type thing.
Perfect, awesome.
To frame it, so people don't go crazy with ideas.
Yeah.
No, frame it. So I'll draft it this week or next week, and I'll send it to you guys for comment,
Perfect,
okay?
yeah.
But it's good that we have a date.
Yeah.
to work towards.
Anything else? Anybody with anything else?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting here. What is this?
The 8th.
The 8th of January.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.